So, friends, it's Deanna Willison from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm coming to you with one of our little book walks of a trio of John Michael Talbot books. Now, some of you might be like, John Michael Talbot, isn't he... Okay, he's a Franciscan, but I'm not really sure. He's not really a monk. He's not really a secular... Like, what? He's a musician, right? That's what he does? John Michael Talbot kind of defies our descriptions sometimes. He is... Okay, let's try and describe who John Michael Talbot is. And I am getting this from his own website. And this one is johnmichaeltalbot.com. You can also go to troubadourforthelord.net and find his products. So here's a brief John Michael Talbot bio. He is a Grammy and Dove Award winning musician. He is currently even made an album while he's confined in a hermitage in a place that has basically no internet, very spotty. He is somehow recording and getting files out to people. So that is a gorgeous new CD that has just been released. He's a prolific author. While I'm going to review 3 books, according to this, he has 33 books, including one that was just published in May. 33 books already. That's amazing. And he also lives and leads a monastic life. While he himself leads a monastic life, he also with touring. I know, this is kind of confusing. I said he's very hard to describe. He also has his little portion hermitage in Arkansas in the St. Clair Monastery in Texas. And that one in Texas, he is the founder and general minister of Brothers and Sisters of Charity, and they are a Catholic-based community. So they aren't exactly secular Franciscans, but they live in the style of the early secular Franciscans. So let's get to the books. We're already 2 minutes in, right? This is going to be my book club's new book. So if you're in my fraternity, or even if you're not in my fraternity, you want in on this, let me know. So we're going to do this. Of course, someone has already read it, not me, and said it's amazing. This is Francis of Assisi's Sermon on the Mount, Lessons from the Admonitions. And every year when we do, I'm not going to think of it. You know, when we do that ceremony in January and we pull a saint's name and a Bible verse and a friend, prayer partner for the year, this year, instead of doing scripture verses, I got one of the admonitions. And I really haven't studied the admonitions before, so I'm kind of excited to start this one. So let's give a look at it. This one is by Paraclete Press. He uses a variety of publishers in his books. 2019 was the first printing. Scriptures, again, are the Catholic edition of the Revised Standard Version of the Bible. There are actually some from the New American Bible Revised. There are also some marked Grail. Those are taken from the Revised Grail Psalms. Also some from the King James Version. The Rule of St. Benedict is quoted as well. Interesting. So he has got a lot going on in here. Let's look. So the admonitions are it's an introduction, and then it goes straight into the admonitions. It's the number and name of the admonition. If you've never heard of these, let me give you some of them. If you're not familiar with St. Francis's writing on the admonitions, let's try. Number 1, the Blessed Sacrament. 2, the evil of self-will. 3, perfect and imperfect obedience. 4, no one should claim the office of superior as his own. 5, don't give way to pride. 6, the imitation of Christ. 7, good works must follow knowledge. 6 is the image of Christ. 7, good works must follow knowledge. 8, beware of the sin of envy. 9, charity. 10, exterior mortification. 11, no one should be scandalized at another's fall. 12, how to know the Spirit of God. 13, patience. 14, poverty of spirit. 15, the peacemakers. I'm not going to give these all to you, friends. How many are there? There are 28, and then there's a conclusion. 2 of them are actually about true love, so that's kind of interesting. I think that's the only one that's doubled up. So again, just like in our last book by Mary Bodo, true love was the final teaching. In this one, it's 2 teachings instead of being the final teaching. The introduction, and I wanted to read to you a section of this because I think you're going to see why I've selected these books to do right now. Introduction. We live in troubled times. We are experiencing polarization, anger, and even violence in the United States and across the world. Many people feel we are careening out of control, But God is still in control. It is important to reach deep into our Catholic Christian history in a way that speaks to all peoples to bring clarity and peace. St. Francis of Assisi is one of the great saints who somehow reaches across all divides, touches hearts and souls, and brings spiritual peace. In a way, the admonitions are St. Francis's Beatitudes or Sermon on the Mount. They get to his very heart and they promise blessings throughout. I'm going to stop there so you can come and read that yourself. So the introduction is, it's like 5 pages. It's not much. And then we're jumping straight in. And quotey, quote, St. Francis, if you were not familiar with his writing, St. Francis, scripture was his language by the end of his life. I swear he just spoke Bible quotes. And that's how he wrote. And so this starts out, St. Francis wrote. I love a book on St. Francis's admonitions that literally starts, St. Francis wrote. Beautiful, perfect, absolutely. Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. And so he's reading to you from the Gospel of John. Right away, it's telling us that. Tons of scripture quotes, which is very, very Franciscan. Very beautiful. And that is a writing of St. Francis, and you'll see clearly marked as the first title. When we're coming out of that admonition, and then there's a double line, and then this is the commentary on it. Okay, so then there's a commentary. The commentary does take a while. He's referencing various saints, talking about even his own journey. So just like Murray Bodo talked about his journey in the beginning, John Michael Talbot is telling you some of his beginning in this very first admonition. He tells you here, I came from the Jesus moment in the Catholic charismatic renewal. Along with the Franciscan and monastic traditions, the charismatic renewal was most helpful in greeting me as I entered the church. And he's going to tell you how St. Francis played into his life and that conversion there. Again, very nice. He's even talking about what he does in concert and why he does it. At chapter end here with the flowers, end of page. So there's no mistaking when the new one is. And again, St. Francis wrote, and he's going to give you the admonition. You can see it's marked off clearly. The spacing, I don't know if the spacing is different. Doesn't it almost look like this has more air to it, the St. Francis wrote passage than the commentary? This is laid out very well. It's going to be very clear and easy to see where a chapter starts, which is going to be super helpful in a book study. Are there questions to study in any of these? I don't think they are, but we've always done very well on our own in our book club. I can look later to see if any of these do have study questions. I don't know. It's like I hear a little voice from one of you asking me. And then there's the conclusion at the end. It's clearly marked again. And yeah, it's just a page and a little bit more. And then there's a little bit about Paraclete Press. And then there's some books by other people that they publish on St. Francis. So the next book, because we're doing 3 John Michael Talbot books because I managed to get them at a steal. This is The Lessons of St. Francis, How to Bring Simplicity and Spirituality into Your Daily Life. This one is John Michael Talbot, but with Steve Raby. I don't know if I pronounced his name correct. And this gentleman, Steve Raby, has written 2,000 articles or co-authored 3 dozen books on spirituality, religion, and culture. Lives in Colorado. Most of the praise for this book on the back are actually, they're very varied here. The first one is the Houston Chronicle. Then you have an award-winning musician and author, CBA Marketplace, the Wichita Eagle, Murray Bodo, okay, Library Journal, and Book List. So that's a very eclectic mix of references there, which says that it might appeal to all kinds of people. Let's see here. Go ahead and give it open. Lovely imagery there. Let's see. This one was published by Plume, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. It was previously published in a Dutton edition. The first Plume edition was 1998, and the copyright was 1997. It is dedicated to his mother, who passed away during the writing of this book. Just a quick thank to Father Martin Wolter, OFM, who was his spiritual father, and to the wife, Viola. Okay, and there's another image. Table of contents are laid out much more simply in this one, aren't they? 1, a tangible saint. 2, simplicity. 3, joy. So it's just the name of the chapter, or the number of the chapter, the name, and then the page number. Super simple. This is a different sort of book. Here's the preach always, if necessary, use words, which is a little hinky quote. Lots of pictures. So this book is completely different, laid out in everything than the last one, isn't it? This seems like this is more of a companion that you may take out with you on a hike and find a little nook in the woods and curl up and read. This one has lots of quotes, short quotes, a sentence from St. Bonaventure, a sentence from Thomas of Celano. He practiced what he preached. He was real. He was radical. So they have a list, see, and they're bulleted out with giant-sized bullets, and the font is bigger. So this is going to be easy to find out what those are. Again, interspersed with quotes. Those bullet points are going to be easy to find. End of the chapter. See, he's leaving that space so that you can find it. The next one, very easy to find. Simplicity. So it's laid out pretty easy. Let's randomly pick a spot. Aha! Humility. Let's just pick humility and read it. Oh, this time the font is little fleur-de-lis. And this does have questions in it. Interesting. This section says you don't have to scourge your body or enter into a monastery to grow in humility, which is funny because John Michael Talbot has a monastery. The opportunities to learn humility are all around us. Here are some ways to take stock of pride in your life and confront it with the discipline of humility. When you are around other people, do you insist on promoting your opinions, driving home your points, and being the last one to talk on an issue? Or are you content to let others have their say without any commentary or criticism from you? Next point. How do you feel about the driver who cuts you off on the freeway? Are you shocked by his insensitivity to your rights as a driver? Or how do you feel about the family that grabs the restaurant table that you had eyed for yourself? Or feel about the handicapped person who forces you to walk more slowly or delays your ascent up a flight of stairs to an important meeting? Do you easily get bent out of shape and angry at these slight inconveniences? Lastly, how do you treat others? How do you relate to the person taking your order at the fast food restaurant drive-through window? Are you brusque and insolent? Or how do you interact with the cashier at the local convenience store? Are you all business, or do you have time to exchange a smile, share a word of encouragement, or offer a compliment? Do you demand plate service, or are you thankful for it? How we treat others, particularly others who we view as somehow less important than ourselves, is a crucial test of our humility. One of the first steps in Francis's life of faith was to kiss a leper. Who are the lepers in our lives, and how can we kiss them? This isn't in any... It was ironic because it's coming out in the day of the McCarrick report, so I'm super sensitive to thoughts of that. They're not talking about literally going around and kissing the cashiers and all, but how can you show them a kindness? And I don't think a lot of people understand that. To the leper, kissing a leper, number one, people thought it was super contagious because it is a mysterious disease. You can have contact with a leper and nothing. It's repeated contact, usually, and so you don't know actually where you got it from. It's a very hard to pin down the contagion of that disease. And so that air of mystery around just made people like, I don't know exactly how people get it. I'm not going anywhere near you. I don't want anything to do with you. And people wouldn't want to touch you because your skin is nasty and scabby. And actually you may be losing fingers and things, so you have bandages. So for a leper, a greatest kindness can be that physical touch. What is the greatest kindness that you could do to the people who you see as less around you? So first you have to identify who you see as less. And that's going to take an examination of conscience right there, right? And then you have to stop and think, because the greatest kindness that you could do for any of those people may be different. Yesterday, you can tell I finally got my hair cut. And the greatest kindness I could do, because I know getting my hair cut is not the biggest need in my life, and we're in a pandemic, and do I really need to go? And the girl who was cutting my hair, I know she's not a girl, sorry. The woman I call most women girls. I call myself a girl because that's me. I'm always the little sister. So that was not meant to be condescending. That's where I was going with that. So the woman who was cutting my hair revealed, she has a toddler at home and stuff. And so she had actually canceled my appointment a week ago because she wasn't feeling good, and she absolutely didn't want to take any risks or make anyone uncomfortable. So she wanted to stay home. And I really appreciated her honesty and generosity, as well as the protection of her child at home. She didn't want to risk, because also her immune system is down, right? Even if it was just a cold or just allergies, her immune system might be down, and so she might be more likely to catch something and take it home to her toddler. And so I really appreciated that. And I know I'm just getting a haircut. I'm not getting it colored. I'm not getting it permed. I'm not getting anything fancy done. And so the kindness I thought what she would appreciate most was honestly tipping her ridiculously well for the haircut, because I appreciated all those things, and I knew that she was putting herself at risk for my vanity, but also my mental health. I do feel much better after getting a haircut. So you have to look at that person and say, what is the greatest kindness I can do for them in this moment? It's going to change. Maybe next time I'll take her cookies or something. I don't know. It's going to change what will be that thing. So it's not even a set thing. And you can see how ready I am to jump and dive into that book. Obviously, that one spoke to me because that was just a book walk. Here's our last one, The Ancient Path, Old Lessons from the Church Fathers for a New Life Today. This one is John Michael Talbot with Mike Aquilina, and a foreword by Cardinal Donald Wuerl. He is not my favorite person right now, the Cardinal, but again, the McCarrick report just came out. I didn't get to finish reading it. It's like 500 pages. And I'm doing these kind of to get off that, to take our minds off it, but it's right there, and I want to apologize for that. I do think the book is worth it, so let's get to that. This one is published by Image. It was copyrighted 2015. Oh, Image is another registered trademark of Random House, so they have a lot of little imprints, don't they? This is dedicated to the memory of Father Martin Walter OFM, his spiritual father. So between the writing of these two books, he had passed away. Is that right? When was this one? I'm going back. Yeah, this one was 1997, and this is 2015. So the priest, his spiritual father, passed away between those two books. This one is a more traditional setup here. Contents. There's a map. Interesting. I wasn't expecting a map. I don't know about you. Forward, Preface, Chapter 1, You Can Become All Fire. Whoa, right there. I am hooked. 2, Our Spiritual Fathers. 3, Jesus Christ. 4, Salvation. Again, and it's giving the page numbers. I'm not sure why it's centered, but it almost looks like an angel. Table of contents. Loving that. I don't know that would ever work out for me, but that looks like an angel to me. And here's our map. I guess this is where we're going to find the Church Fathers. I don't know. There's a foreword. John Michael Talbot is best known as a musician and composer, but he's also a writer, a builder, and a founder of an integrated monastic community. As a Catholic layman, he's a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. He's exercised these roles in the latter part of the 20th century and the early part of the 21st. Yet he has drawn inspiration for each of these diverse roles from authors who wrote many centuries ago. John's life and work have been shaped by the fathers of the church. Oh my goodness, friends, this is drawing me in right now. So these are all his influences and why he chose the life he did. Oh my goodness. And this is the foreword by Cardinal Donald Wuerl. But it does say that he's done a great favor by opening up the great gift of the fathers. And this unique style is a splendid window looking out in the wisdom and world of the fathers, and this work is a true blessing. Yeah, so let's see. The preface. Who has written the preface? The preface is by John Michael Talbot himself. People often imagine the fathers of the church looked like their icons and smelled like incense. He's giving a hint. This is not really true. It was truth be known, the men we meet in these writings often appear wearing the tattered cloak of Jesus or the dusty sweat-soaked habits of the desert fathers and mothers. Theirs is an utterly incarnational spirituality. It is heaven-sent, but it moves forward with both feet on the ground of the earth. Very beautiful. And it gives you a little introduction to him. This grew out of conversations he had with his friend Mike over the course of a week in November 2012. So it looks like they had a nice vacation. Who knew that walks through the woods in Arkansas could make two very modern Americans with smartphones in their pocket experience such a profound communion with the ancient fathers of the church? Beautiful. A note on the sources. Throughout the book, he's drawn on texts from several different editions of the Father, and he tells you the translations he's used, and he's modernized the language. And he starts right out with his own life, very relatable. The monastery where I live, Little Portion Hermitage, nestles off in a wooded valley off a rural route in the Ozark Mountains of northern Arkansas. Again, it's marked very clearly that it's the beginning of a chapter. It doesn't have, up here, I really like it when the top has the chapter name. This just has the author and the book name throughout, so you're not going to get the chapter name. So if you lose your place, friends, you're going to have to look in the index. So get your bookmark out for this one. Although it does come with a nice dust jacket if you've gotten the hardback copy, so you can use that to mark your page. I'm just going to skip through here. We'll do a quick reading, but I want to look at the notes and all on the back. So when we get to the back, there is a timeline, and it's telling you many of the dates are approximate. But it does have the dates in the back are like the Didache, the writings of the New Testament, death of Peter and Paul under Nero, letters of Barnabas. So they start at around 48, and it goes to 749 with the death of John of Damascus, last of the Eastern Fathers. They do have its end notes, right? In this case, I would have to say I would have preferred footnotes, but that's because I'm not super familiar with the early fathers. I have read some, but I probably would have liked to hear. But how they're organized, they are organized by chapter, so that does make it a little easier. It is in the very back of the book, so again, that's going to be easier to find. And again, if you have the hardback form, you can just mark that so that you have, bam, there's the notes at the back, so that's going to be super easy. I'm just going to try and randomly flip and read you one short quote. Why? So that you get a feel for it, and also short because we're already at 22 minutes. So here's the section. Consider the Didache. The Didache is a manual of church order, a kind of instruction book on how to run a Christian community. Scholars believe that it emerged from the Syrian Antioch, the city where the disciples were first called Christians, and the home of the first century bishop who first used the term Catholic Church. Though the text may have reached its final form in the early 2nd century, the Didache's ritual portions seem to have been set in writing much earlier. These may have been composed before the Council of Jerusalem, which is described in chapter 15 of the Acts of the Apostles. The Didache begins by contrasting two possible ways to live life on earth, the way of life and the way of death. Subsequent chapters sketch out in a very specific way in practical terms the moral actions that characterize each way. I find this interesting because in the prologue to the Secular Franciscan Rule, St. Francis basically lists the way of life and the way of death. I never noticed that before. So, I'm already drawn in. Friends, I hope you get these books. I'm very excited to start them. John Michael Talbot. These are only 3 of his 33 books. So get out there and read them. Right now, he cannot tour with his music ministry. And, he's up in a hermitage. So if you can help him out, go to troubadourforthelord.net and grab one of his books and check out that new CD. Amen, friends. Have a blessed day. Bye.